Okay, it is time for another experiment. I want to do a 3x3 mod where I combine the 3x3 cylinder with the concave edge modification. Now my idea is I want to make it look like a cylinder on one axis, a concave cube on another axis, and then just a regular square on the final axis. I'm pretty sure I know how to combine these modifications together, but I've never done that before, so I'm going to be pretty interested to see how it turns out. But anyways, let's get started. Now as usual when I start my experiments, I have to prepare the puzzle before I can start cutting it, and so I took all of the center caps off and then I tightened everything up so that it wouldn't turn. To start things off, I tilted the table to 45 degrees as I usually do, and then I began cutting all of the edges off. Now because I was doing effectively two modifications rolled into one, I had to cut all of the edges on the barrel axis a little shallow, and then when I went back over to the bandsaw, I cut all of the concave parts a lot deeper. This is just to save me sanding a load of material away a little later on. After I'd finished cutting everything, you can see the two separate depths of cut, and the one that's really deep is the one that I'm going to be doing the concave modification on. The one that's slightly shallower is the one that I'm going to be barreling on. Now it was time to fill everything up with epoxy sculpt, but before I did that, I went around with a blade and I cut off all of the melted plastic before I started filling everything. And after all that was done, I got the epoxy sculpt out and then I mixed it up. After I'd finished filling all of the pieces, I waited for everything to harden, and then I took it over to my belt sander and I began spinning it up. The way that I get the barrel shape is I like to let the puzzle spin between my fingers, and I just hold it on an angle to the travel of the belt, and it very slowly sands away everything. Although that being said, I kinda made a bit of a mistake, which I'm gonna start explaining now. Really, I should have done the barreling before I'd cut the areas off that were going to be concave. The reason this is a problem is because the narrow area ends up getting sanded more than the wider area, and as a result, it was really hard to get this into a cylindrical shape. Because of that, I ended up having to sand down a lot further than I originally intended, so as a result, on what is supposed to be the square axis, it ended up looking more like a rectangle. But regardless, at least I know what I did wrong, so I don't have to do it in the future. So I went back over to the belt sander and I started sanding all of the concave sections. After I was finished sanding everything and I had the shape in its final form, I was really happy with how everything was looking. Not only did this puzzle roll like a cylinder, it looked like a concave cube, but it also had that really cool square axis, even though it is more of a rectangle. I'm happy, I'm gonna live with it, and I decided to disassemble everything so I could round over all the pieces and finish this puzzle up. After I'd finished rounding over all of the pieces, I reassembled everything, and this is what the puzzle looked like. I was really happy with how this shape turned out, even though I had sanded down a little too far on the barrel axis, but I stickered everything up, and here it is, the puzzle is finally done. I'm really happy with the color scheme that I chose for this puzzle. I just went for the traditional 10 color barrel scheme, but because those concave edges were there, I decided to stick those parts up with the other colors, and I just think that overall it looks really nice, it's very aesthetically pleasing, and I'm very happy with how this experiment turned out. Now as far as the actual puzzle goes, this is a shapeshifter, and it does shapeshift pretty crazily. Because I ended up sanding that barrel section down a little further than I wanted to, it actually shapeshifts more than I was expecting because you have those different layer sizes. But overall, this was really just an experiment to see if I could combine these different kinds of puzzles together, and I'm very happy with how everything turned out. In future, I will do the barrel section before I do the concave section if ever I'm going to revisit this puzzle, which I probably will do, but I'll have to do that outside this series. But anyways, I hope you guys like this puzzle, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.